Good morning and welcome to Animal Talk Thursday. I'm Dawn Heyman, co-founder of Spring Farm Cares and professional animal communicator. And today we need to announce that this will be our last session of Animal Talk Thursday for a little while. We're just taking a summer break. We'll be back later in the summer. And that has to do with a lot of scheduling things here and stuff we have going on. So it's a busy time. And Grace is going to grace us with her presence if she's on camera. This is Grace. And she's very mouthy. She's very vocal, I should say, huh? Not mouthy. Sorry. See, mouthy had a negative connotation. She's very vocal. She has a lot to talk about. Yeah. So, anyway, we'll be taking a small break, but don't despair because we'll still be doing video content. It just won't be every Thursday at 10. We'll still do some video stuff. Becca and I we'll still have projects that we're doing, and both of us are working on projects right now, which you'll learn more about in the future. So, which is one of the reasons why we need to take a break because we have a lot going on. So, but it's been wonderful, and you can catch up on YouTube, on our YouTube channel for all of our past issues. You can rewatch them or whatever you would like to do. And we love to hear from you. The other thing is, please, if you haven't already, sign up to be on our mailing list. We promise you we won't be dunning you every week with emails asking you for money and support. That's not what we do. But we send out our newsletter, and we send out a publication. It's a journal called Tattletales that we put out bi-monthly. And that's only, the Tattletales is only put out electronically. So to get it, you need to sign up, just to receive our email. And we value and treasure your privacy. So we do not sell, trade, give away for any reason our email lists at all. So it's safe for you to sign up for that. So you can go to our website, www.springfarmcares.org. On any page down at the bottom is a sign-up box for our newsletter. So that's the easiest way to do it. And just so you know, we have in the next few days, we have our next issue of Tattletales going out, and it's a really, really wonderful issue with lots of really neat stories and things to share. So feel free to put your email address in there.
Awesome. So if you have been watching for a while, or especially since the beginning, I think a lot of us have had the thought of, wow, it's so amazing to watch Dawn do this, and you're so gifted, but it just doesn't seem like that's something I could do. I'm wondering if you could speak to that a little bit.
Absolutely. The whole point of animal communication, from my perspective as a teacher, is to help people discover that absolutely you can do it. Everybody can do this. Now, there's various skill levels, and people need to remember I've been doing this for 40 years and have really honed the skill. Because I use it all the time, every day, multiple times a day. I mean, it's not even a thing that differentiates or is delineated in my life. It just is a daily experience, like breathing. I do it just naturally. So, but telepathic communication is natural for every living thing. It's the natural form of communication. So, people can definitely learn how to do this. And then, a couple of factors influence your skill level. One is how often you practice and keep it in your life. That's one part of it. The other thing is how much you believe that you can do it. That's the biggest factor, actually. If you can't even fathom or believe that you can do it, that will become a block for you to do it and to hear things. You have to be willing to listen. You have to be willing to quiet your mind and actually listen. You have to have a natural curiosity to listen and to see what's around you. Those are key factors that will influence how well you do for yourself. But everybody has different goals. Some people want to do this professionally, and they want to do consultations for others. Some people want to just know what their own animals are feeling and thinking in a crisis or whatever. So you can do all of anything with that.
What kind of benefits do you see people getting out of learning this skill?
I'll tell you, over the almost 40 years that I've been doing this, there's a key thing that I see. It's not just that their relationships with their animals improve, because that happens. you get more clarity. Sometimes our animals are trying to tell us something, and we misread it. We think, or we get all technical and look at their body language and say, this is what this means. Or, a behaviorist or a trainer will say, well, if the dog does this, this is what it means. And it may not necessarily mean that. I mean, it may mean it. It may be a factor in it, but there may be something deeper that is affecting your animal. Why does Grace meow all the time? Which people may or may not be able to hear this because our microphones cut some of the background noise, but
you can probably hear it.
she's like really meowing in the background. Why does she do that? Actually, I ask her that every day because it gets annoying after a while.
What's the answer?
And here she is, and she usually tells me, it's how she gets attention. It works for her, and that's how she gets attention. I know, and it's the only way people listen. So it's effective for her. Yeah, I know. We're talking about you. And now I forgot the question you asked me. You interrupted me now.
Me too. Oh, what are some of the benefits that you see people getting out of learning this?
Yeah. So one of the biggest benefits I see people getting is that their relationship with themselves, with their animals, with their human family, with their human friends, with their the world around them, with nature, everything starts to improve. And the reason is because if you're listening to, and you're motivated to listen to what your animals have to say, then you are listening better to everything else, and it just increases your listening skills. That is the biggest benefit, and it's a huge benefit. People's lives change doing this, and they tell me this all the time. I mean, this isn't something I'm just saying. When I first started teaching, I wasn't prepared for that. I would get these letters in the mail, saying this was life changing, and my relationship with my kids changed, and it saved my marriage. And I'm thinking, how is that possible? And then it was obvious to me. And then after a while, I was like, of course, because they're listening more, they're participating more. When you open up to that, you're just more a part of life, and you are listening more to yourself. And I think that's one of the biggest things. Humans fall out of relationship with ourselves. And once you start going back into that and developing a relationship with yourself to know what are your thoughts, and what are things that set you off, what are your judgments, what are, all of these different things. To get clear communications, you need to be a clear channel. Mm-hmm. And that involves a lot of self-reflections, and especially people that go into this professionally, I warn them about that. They have to be ready to really dive in to their own stuff, because you're processing communications, you're translating them through your own filter.
Has it had any effects on your life or someone that have really surprised you?
I've had lots of surprises. For me, I look over this time. When I started, I was in my 20s, and now I'm 61, so giving away my age here. But it helped me grow up. I mean, I just had to, it helped me. When I started in my 20s, I'll just say this, I didn't believe in anything. I thought everything was foolish. I made fun of anything, anything psychic or spiritual in that sense. I wasn't open to any of that, but I was open enough to listen to what the animals had to say. And I was open enough and humble enough to let them teach me and let them tell me when I was being a jerk about something, or when I was being judgmental, and I would listen to them and I learned from them. And not to say I still have judgments. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm judgment free, but I am aware of them, most of them anyway. And if I'm not aware of them, when something comes up, I do some self-reflection and I say, okay, hold on. Because if I'm going to hear the animals clearly and convey what they want, I can't do that through my agenda. And, there's a lot of people that want to get into animal communication, and they want to be the voice for the animals and advocate for them. But there's a humbleness that comes with this, that what we think of as advocating for the animals may not be where the animals are coming from. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not. And to have an openness to look at that is that it's mind blowing sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, you wonder what the world would be like if everybody learned this skill.
Yes, it's true. Because to sit at peace with another being, to just sit there with like a blank slate and say, I accept whatever it is that you're sharing with me. I will listen to that. Just think how different the world would be.
Yeah.
And we're not putting any kind of overlay on what we think it should be, or no, you shouldn't feel that way, or you know, I condemn you because you feel that way, or your way of looking at life is different than mine, so I'm going to judge you for that. The animals just don't do that. And I've learned enormous amounts of just how to be a better human just from being with them and listening to them.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So there's a lot, and then there's also the more obvious benefits of, you know, being a better owner to the animals in your life, and you know, dealing with all of the ups and downs that come along with that, which we all deal with.
Right.
You recently had, you know, to deal with an experience that unfortunately we all have to go through with this animal death. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. I'll share this. I have just enough distance. It happened 2 weeks ago, which is not a lot of distance. So I'm still in the grieving process, but I 2 weeks ago lost my heart dog, Jessie, my yellow lab, Jessie, who was 14. And, there's a lot of people out there that have known Jessie through posts on Facebook and through my workshops. He was just, and every year he gave the opening message for, the animal communications for the holiday animal communications. He was just an amazing dog. And, anytime with our animals like that, no matter how old they are or whatever, it's never enough. You know, we always want more. And I'm no exception to that. I would have loved to have him a longer time. He had many health issues that potentially could have ended his life. And some of them were orthopedic, that he was getting more arthritic. He had hip dysplasia and he had other issues, joint issues. And I was dreading a day that would come that I would have to make a decision with him. Obviously I make a decision with him, because I wouldn't physically be able to lift him up. And that was a very difficult, and that happens to a lot of people. It's happened to me with other animals here as well. It's hard. That's a hard and legitimate decision. But that wasn't the case. He ended up, not feeling well one day. Our veterinarian came over to take a look at him, drew some blood. We found some abnormalities in his blood, which led us to do an ultrasound and found a huge mass on his liver. And sadly, he passed 5 days later. So it was a very quick process. But I want to share, you know, obviously people look at me and say, well, you know, you get these communications because you're a professional animal communicator. But I want to share something. When I'm in this with one of my own animals, I'm just like anybody else. It's hard for me to distance myself from a situation like that and say, oh, let's see, you know, the greater picture about what Jesse's spiritual path is or what he's doing. I can't separate that out from my anxiety and my grief, you know, and the pending loss that is coming. But if you learn how to be present with them, the process of his passing was beautiful, actually. So he died on a Saturday. We had to euthanize him. He just really crashed, and he wasn't producing red blood cells anymore, and he clearly was tired. I mean, it was very clear. The end was clear, and he was comfortable, but you know, it was time, and we have no doubts about that. But the Thursday before that, so he died on Saturday. That Thursday, he was diagnosed on Monday. And that Thursday, he had the most fantastic day. And he was playing with our other two younger dogs, and he was playing with me, and he was doing all of these things that he loved to do. There was a way he did, which I always called him the way he hugged me. He would come up between my legs, and he would, you know, we would just like bear hug. I bear hug him. And he hadn't done that in a while. And all of a sudden, all day Thursday, he kept doing it repeatedly. And I was super aware that frequently before a human or an animal passes, they rally and they have this euphoria and they have this really good day. And ate it up and took it for every second of that day, knowing probably that's what I was looking at. And the next day, he was still okay on Friday, but there was a change in his energy. It became a little bit more serious, I want to say, self-reflective. He just shifted. He really shifted. And then Saturday morning when we went to take him out, he literally collapsed when I brought him outside. So we had to carry him back inside. And then we just spent the time with him until the veterinarian could come. And we had hospice care at home, which was really wonderful for us and for him. But I want to share something, because being trained by the animals to be observant and just to be aware of things, the event of his passing was actually incredibly special. So I'm sharing this in an article in Tattletales that's about ready. Like I said, it's about ready to come out in the next few days. I'll release the issue. But we had a weird thing happen. Before we knew he was sick, we were aware of this cardinal. We have a lot of birds here on the farm, but we were aware of this male cardinal, and we have cardinals up by our house all the time. But this cardinal would sit on a ledge outside of our window, looking in the window. He did this for several days, or let's say a couple days. And finally, Margaret said to me, does that bird give you any kind of a message? And I don't know why I hadn't thought to ask him. I didn't. And so when I asked, he was looking right in our window, and he said, you knew me once as Faith. I just wanted to say hello. And then he flew off. And he never did that again after that. He got his message through. He finally got our attention, and he delivered the message. Now, Faith was a border collie mix dog that we had who died several years ago. And so it was strange. I was like, okay, why would Faith come back as a cardinal? But anyway, and nice. So Margaret and I was like, well, nice of her to come say hello. And that was it. We didn't think anything more of it. The next day after that, and this is all in retrospect now, we were aware this was happening, but we never put this all together. So the next day, a pair of mourning doves arrived in our backyard. They would sit on the fence. Now, mourning doves are a very common bird, but they're common around here, but they're not common at our house. I mean, in 20 years, Margaret and I were saying, I don't think we ever saw mourning doves at our house, which is what caught our attention, because it was like, why are these mourning doves sitting here on our fence? And they stayed there for, it ended up being 3 days. They stayed there. They stayed on our roof. They stayed on our fence. They were constantly flying around the house. They were there all the time. And then on the third day, they started perching on the same place where the red cardinal, or the male cardinal, had been. So Margaret, said to me, I didn't have to be asked at this point. When they did that, I said to them, and who are you? And the answer I got back was that we're friends that need to be here right now. And they stayed there until Jesse passed. And minutes after he passed, they left, and we never saw them again. So I knew that they were there to help him with his transition, or to help us through his transition. There are symbols like this. Our friends from Spirit send us guides. They send us messengers all the time. We usually look past it. And so one of the gifts that you get with learning animal communication and just learning to be more observant and listening is catching some of these things. So 2 days after Jesse died, I was sitting in our living room, and, like I said, I'm still going through the grieving process. I miss him constantly. I look at his bed and he's not there. And, our dogs miss him. The younger dogs, one is 3, one is 2. They've never been through a death before. And now they lost their Uncle Jesse, who was their rock. And both of these dogs came from rescue, and they're very insecure, especially the 3-year-old female. She's very insecure. And Jesse would snuggle with her constantly. They'd even go in a crate together, not with the door shut, but and just lay in a pile together. They did this all the time. And so we let them see his body before it was taken to be cremated. And they didn't know what to do with that. They just didn't know. And I could tell they'd had enough, and I let them back out of the room, and they were looking for him. for like 2 days they were looking for him. And I kept trying to tell them, he's not coming back, but you can still connect to him with your heart, just like I can. And so, we go over the whole thing with them, how lucky you were to have Uncle Jesse in your life. And he left you all of these things, and you can be secure that his energy is still around, and, you can rest into that. I think last night, they heard something and they ran to the bedroom door where he passed, and they were, standing there with their tails going. And I said, guys, he's not coming back through there. They just keep expecting him to show up. So that's hard. But we use the communication to talk to them. They understand what we're saying. They get the messages. They're just trying to go through the grieving process themselves. So, and I lost my train of thought. What did you ask me?
Sorry, I'm so engrossed in your story.
Oh, no, I was continuing the bird thing.
Yeah.
So two nights after he died, I'm sitting at the table when the other dogs are running around, and suddenly I'm aware of this bird singing, and it was this beautiful song, and I know what that is. It's my absolute, I'm not very knowledgeable on birds, but this one, when I hear it, I always know who it is. And it was a Baltimore Oriole, and I love their song. And I love looking at them. They are beautiful, beautiful birds. And we had some years ago, a nesting pair in one of the trees right on the farm. And we have them in the nature sanctuary, certainly. But we had them right here on the farm. And I haven't seen them since around the house or anything. So all of a sudden I heard it, and I ran to the window, and right outside on a tree branch was this male Baltimore Oriole just singing his heart out. And I instantly got from Jesse, Mom, I just wanted you to know I'm okay. And so, I said to him, did you choose the orange bird because you were yellow and it was kind of like you? And he said, no, I chose that because it's your favorite bird. And I wanted you to know that life is still beautiful. And please hang on to that. And I actually needed to hear that message, because it's easy to fall off the cliff of, I have animals in my life. I say this, I've been telling people this. I have animals in my life that come to us because they need our help. And we have animals that come because they're here to help us. And Jesse was definitely, for me, a real grounding force. And I don't have that. The other animals that I'm with right now are here because they have issues that we're helping them through. Not to say that they don't help me with stuff. I don't mean that. It's a reciprocal relationship no matter what. But the main focus of the relationship, Jesse was really a grounding force for me. So I'm dealing with that loss and the missing the lab energy, because labs for me give me that grounding in life, and I don't have that anymore. So I really miss his energy in particular, and lab energy in general. So, but anyway, this is the biggest thing. People want to learn to communicate with their animals. The number one reason is, if I have a problem with my animal or when it's time for them to go, I want to be able to know when it's time. And it's a hard one. It's a hard one, because our emotions still are there, and we can't get around that. But we work with that in workshops, and that's one of the things that we talk about.
Yeah, I think it's so empowering to think that, we all dread having this experience that you just had, and a lot of people have a lot of anxiety about it. I know people who don't even have pets because they're so afraid of dealing with that part, but it's so empowering to know that you could learn this skill and have these connections that can make it a different experience. Doesn't mean it's not going to be sad.
Right.
But it's so much different than we think it could be.
I had somebody years ago, probably like 15 years ago, when I was still doing phone consultations, and I had somebody who had an animal that died, who said to me, I know death doesn't bother you anymore because you've become immune to it because of all the loss that you've had. And I was like, no, it doesn't work that way. Grief is grief, and it's a process, and you go through it. And yes, it can help you to know all the things, and it helps me to know I can still communicate with him, but I still feel a loss. We're in physical bodies, and the physicalness of life, the physical body wants to be able to reach out and touch another physical body. So I feel lost because I can't reach out and hug Jesse. I can't look over and see him in his bed. I can't listen to the funny sounds that he likes to make. He used to do all these little, like little fake sneezes and stuff when he was self-conscious about something or when he was embarrassed about something. And I would do anything to hear that again. I miss all of those moments. And see, now I'm going to get emotional. I told Becca this morning, I'm ready to do this. But all of that is very real. And I miss everything about that. I miss the daily things. I can still communicate with him. I know he's okay. I can feel him, but it's not the same. And so that physical absence is what fuels the grief. But the other thing that fuels the grief, and I'm very aware of this, is if I continually look to the loss and what I'm missing instead of the gratitude for what he gave me and the heart connection that we still have, that's when I pop back out. So I will allow myself to cry. I will allow myself to grieve. I'll allow myself to every once in a while, I have to go down that rabbit hole of, like he's not here anymore. What am I going to do? And then I just have to step back, breathe, feel him, and know that he's still connected to me. No, it's not the same. And I'm still going to miss the part that's not the same. There's no way around that. That's life, and that's what we do in life. So it doesn't, though, that this phase that I'm in and missing him and everything also is a tribute to how much I loved him and how much he loved me. So, and how much we gave to each other, and what a great 14 years we had. I mean, he was born with hip dysplasia. In a lot of cases, he wouldn't have lived to be 14. We did amazing, and he had other health issues as well, but we did amazing work that he lived his natural lifespan. I mean, he actually did live his lifespan. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for every part of that. But I'm still selfish enough to be, like, couldn't we have had 4 more years?
That's fair.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Thank you for sharing all of that, Dawn. That's amazing. Got me crying over here. So I would love to talk a little bit about some of the workshops we have coming up this summer. Because if you guys have been here and listening to this and you're interested in learning the skill that we're talking about, we have an animal communication workshop in June. It's Saturday, June 28th and Sunday, June 29th. Do you want to talk a little bit about what people can expect from that one?
Absolutely. So this workshop is actually for anybody at any level. If people have already been getting communications, they'll just get more. They'll get something else out of it when they come. So but it's also for beginners that have never, even if you feel you've never gotten a communication, that's great. That's what this is for. We try to, the whole goal is to be immersed here for 2 days in the energy of Spring Farm with these amazing animal teachers that are here, 225 of them, at your disposal. And it's about bringing in your heart, coming in, opening your heart, and learning to listen. That's what it's about. And then you can take it from there, and there's skills that you'll learn that you'll be able to take with you out of here. And can I guarantee that you will get a communication from an animal when you leave here? I can't, because everybody's process is different and everybody's time frame is different. And that's one of the big things we talk about in the workshop, is not comparing yourself to anybody else. I mean, that's a huge part of this workshop, because the human experience and the human mind traps us into not listening to what is right in our heart. And that's where communications come from. And we talk about all of that, how to listen to your heart, because that's where telepathy resides. And you learn that skill, and then, and then you build on it from there.
And I know we have a few people in here that have come to the workshops before. I know Patricia said it was life-changing to take the workshop here. I have taken the workshop, and I just want to say that it's a really special opportunity to be able to actually come here and be at Spring Farm, because the energy here is really special, and having all of these animals at your disposal that have also gotten really used to communicating with people. It's just such an amazing opportunity, because they're all different and they all have lots of wisdom to share. And it is easier to communicate with animals you don't know as well than your pets in your own home. So it's just an amazing opportunity. We eat a great lunch both days.
Yes, we provide lunch. both days and snacks.
Yeah.
And it goes from 9:30 in the morning till 4:30 in the afternoon. And, you get a lot of stuff in that time frame for sure.
And also if the topics of death, dying, grief, interest you, we have our Embracing Spirit workshop in July, which is the 26th and 27th. And that's the same time, Saturday and Sunday, lunch on both days here at the farm.
Right.
Do you want to talk about that one?
Sure. So that one focuses, we don't actually go out and do exercises with the animals. On breaks and lunches, you're welcome to go out with the animals and interact. In fact, we encourage people to do that, to visit with the animals. But that workshop is more about dealing with the death process and what happens when somebody dies. Based on the experiences I've had as an empath since a little kid, I've had experiences from the spirit realm of getting communications, helping people cross over. We talk about all of that. It's a very involved thing. I can't possibly do it justice in like a 40-second sound bite here. But we talk about what animals and people, it's also about people, what the dying process is like. And that also, we have gotten amazing feedback from people. I've had people take the workshop who were, actually I've had 2 people take that workshop who were terminally ill and later passed away. And, but they communicated to us before they passed, about how life-changing that was. The goal of that workshop is to take the fear out of death, because we end up, a lot of people don't even realize this, but they end up living their life now afraid of dying or afraid of losing loved ones. And it becomes a blockage of really living life. And that was the impetus for this workshop. That and a llama named Gulliver who insisted that I was going to teach it. It took me a lot of years to get brave enough to teach it and to develop it. Gulliver didn't live long enough for me to see me teach this workshop, but he's with me all the time. So, and his portrait hangs in, it's an abstract portrait of him, which really just captures his energy, hangs right in our conference room where we hold the workshop. So, yeah.
That's awesome. So that one's in July. So if you're interested in getting more information or signing up for either one of those, go to our website under events. You can also give us a call and talk to Nancy, and we'd love to have you here.
Yeah.
And so we will see you all soon, just not Thursdays at 10 a.m. for a little bit. We're going to take a little hiatus, but we'll be back with Animal Talk Thursday later in the summer. We hope you guys have a great day, and thanks for being here.
Thank you all.
Bye.